Global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to Global Happenings Today YouTube channel. The much awaited date is here. The Supreme Court hearing has begun in earnest. Right now, many Nigerians are wondering what is the situation. We're going to give you full update on what is going on. And the Supreme Court complex is actually boarded with very heavy security presence, of course, this morning, both within and outside. There are also another layer of security that is going on within. There's also security checks and accreditation within the complex even before access. Many have been denied entry, including lawyers and even dignitaries. Now, as of yesterday, it turned out that only 5 counsels, each for Obi, then Atiku, PDP, and the respondents are allowed inside the court. All are senior counsels, so you can imagine the lawyers have been, shot. They have been trimmed down. I wonder why though. Now, the 7-member panel of the Supreme Court is being led by John Okoro. They are Owaniaba Aji, Lawa Gaba, Ibrahim Sulawa, Adamu Jero, Tijani Abubakar, and Emmanuel Ajim, all are sons. Now, Atiku's case was called up and Chris Uche stood for Atiku. We're going to give you updates, of course, on all of them. Now, Abubakar Mahmood, son, also is standing for INEC. Then for Atiku, it is Uche, Chris Uche, also his son. Then for Tinubu Shetima, still remains Wole Aolanikbekun, is also his son. Then Akin Olujimi is actually the son representing APC. All of them fully in the house, fully in the courtroom this morning. Then, of course, Chris Uche, who happens to also be the senior advocate of Nigeria, son for Atiku, says that the appeals are ripe for hearing. He also said there are some pending interlocutory applications and moves a motion filed 6th of October 2023. Now, he seeks 5 minutes of adoberation of the application. Now they are praying for an order of leave to present fresh evidence on appeal based on the deposition on oath from Chicago State University. He said the application is predicated on 20 grounds and an affidavit of 20 paragraphs filed on behalf of Atiku. He went on to say, upon the receipt of the counter affidavit from Mr. Tinubu, APC and INEC, they filed a written address dated on the 18th of October. Now, he adopted the application and urges the court to grant their request. Now, Chris Uche also said that the issue involving Tinubu's certificate is a weighty, grave, and constitutional one, which the Supreme Court, he urged the court to admit the fresh evidence of President Tinubu's academic records from Chicago State University presented by Atiku. Now, he said the Supreme Court has a duty to take a look at Mr. Tinubu's records and reach a decision devoid of technicality. Now, the presiding judge, John Okoro, senior advocate of Nigeria, son, asked Chris Uche, son, whether the Supreme Court should rely on the Electoral Act or the Constitution. In his response, Chris Uche says the issue about Mr. Tinubu's certificate is a constitutional matter which the court should look into. A member of the panel, Emmanuel Ajim, asks Chris Uche to explain the nature of Atiku's fresh document he seeks to tender before the Supreme Court. Justice Ajim asks whether the testimony by Chicago State University registrar was conducted in a court. Justice Ajim says from Chris Uche's court filing, the testimony by the Chicago State University registrar held in Atiku's lawyer's law office in the United States and not in the court. Now, Justice Agim also said that the Chicago State University did not issue any letter discrediting Mr. Tinubu's certificate. Now, just to talk about this one. We are dealing with a matter that touches on the national unity of Nigeria, the justice also says. Now, Justice Okoro seeks clarification from Atiku's lawyer again, Chris Uche. Now, Justice Okoro asks Mr. Uche on why he wants the Supreme Court to brush aside the constitutional provision and entertain the fresh evidence. Now, Chris Uche, senior advocate of Nigeria's son, explained that Section 233 of the Constitution gives the Supreme Court the power to entertain questions about whether a person has been properly elected. Chris Uche responded to the issue raised about the Chicago State proceedings. He said, and I quote him, said there is a slight distinction between proceedings in the United States of America and the United Kingdom. In the United States, that is how court proceedings are done. Mr. Tinubu was represented by a U.S. lawyer, but he did not object to the proceedings being held in Atiku's lawyer's law office. Chris Uche said the depositions are more effective than letters from the Chicago State University authorities regarding the authenticity of Mr. Tinubu's academic record. As at 9:43 a.m., Justice Okoro says criminal matters have to be proved beyond reasonable doubt. But in this case, there are two conflicting letters from Chicago State University. One, authenticating the president's certificate, and another discrediting it. Which do we rely on? He asked. Now, Chris Uche now refers to the court to a letter earlier issued to Michael Anahoro Eba, a lawyer who testified for Atiku against Mr. Tinubu at the Presidential Election Petition Court in Abuja. INEC lawyer Abubakar Mahmood, senior advocate of Nigeria San, asked the Supreme Court to dismiss Atiku's application seeking to tender Mr. Tinubu's academic records. INEC too? Now, Wole Olanipekun, senior advocate of Nigeria, also appealed to the Supreme Court to also dismiss this very unusual application, seeking to tender fresh evidence against Mr. Tinubu. He said that the fresh evidence is not admissible. Now, Olanipekun, don't forget Olanipekun still remains the lawyer to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Shetima. Olanipekun now urges that the Chicago State University depositions are dormant until the deponent comes to court and testify. INEC should have been a party at the deposition proceedings in the United States, the senior lawyer says. And the question of 180 days, the statutory period within which an election petition should be filed and determined, is clear. It is sacrosanct, can't be shifted. Therefore, Atiku can't seek to tender fresh evidence at the Supreme Court. Wahala. Now, from Wole Olanipekun, senior advocate of Nigeria, which still remains for Bola Ahmed Tinubu and for Shetima, he said Atiku's fresh evidence is an application in Wonderland and has no merits, according to Wole Olanipekun. He urged the court to dismiss it, stating that the court is bound by law and the law must be interpreted as it is. Akin Olujimi, senior advocate of Nigeria for APC, added that the application not only lacks merit but is misconceived. He also urged the court to dismiss it. He went on to say you cannot smuggle in documents at the Supreme Court without first tendering same at the trial, which is the appeal court. Nigerians are reacting about it, but then again, this is the court. Now, Justice Okoro now asks, what should be done with the fresh evidence? Now, Olujimi, senior advocate of Nigeria for APC, now said, the burden is on Atiku's lawyers to prove beyond reasonable doubt why the Supreme Court should admit fresh evidence. Chris Uche's son now said, for Atiku said the position should be admissible in court. Olanipekun Jekulali pointed out some contradictions in Atiku's prayers, where he prayed the court to disqualify Tinubu in one breath and another called for a rerun between him and Tinubu. The court allowed the appeal and set aside judgment. Court has gone on recess, but we're going to give you full update immediately. Now, but shockingly, as soon as they came up back, APM, one of the parties who actually also filed against Atiku Abubakar, filed against Bola Ahmed Tinubu, APC and INEC, has actually withdrawn its appeal challenging Tinubu's election victory, after the Supreme Court chastised APM's counsel for bringing a frivolous appeal on the issue already decided by the Supreme Court. The court will now hear that of Obi and Labour Party. Now, the 7-man panel of Supreme Court led by Justice John Okoro has reserved judgment in the appeal of Atiku Abubakar and PDP after hearing the argument of the counsel. Justice Okoro said a date will be communicated to lawyers when the judgment is ready. Now we now have an idea exactly what is going on. Of course, this is actually coming from those who are within the court premises, we were not allowed to go in. But then we now have a fair knowledge of what is going on. But let's see how it plays out. In a few moments from now, Peter will be Labour Party, INEC, INEC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Shetima, and APC will be going on head-to-head in the Supreme Court. Let's also hope also that we'll get to full details on that. That's where we're going to wrap it up. Let's put in that comment section. What's your take? Do you honestly believe that justice will be served? Let's interact now.